This is going to be the first part 1 in the series of tutorials to help you complete, to tutor you through the steps so you can complete yourself the Capstone project in SimNet Excel 365 Capstone project, which is also, if we scroll down a little bit, they call it Project 2. I will be doing this on Windows. I'm usually a Mac user, so because I'm doing this on Windows, this will highlight whenever there's a difference between Mac and Windows, and I will try to point it out. Just like all the other projects, it starts with a start file, resources. Should your teacher allow you to or choose, you will have available a solution file, which is a PDF of what it looks like. I have that and I will be using it, and I've already downloaded these files and I have opened the start file, and here it is. Also, I've already completed step number 1, which is to open it, and if that enable editing button shows up, it did show up, I clicked it and now it's enabled editing. It's that yellow strip that shows up here. You click enable editing. Now we're ready to perform some real steps. Let's see, the file will be renamed automatically, so if it has usually your name and the project name, you leave it the same way unless your teacher tells you to change it. I don't tell my students to change it. The next thing they tell you to do is to import. We've done that, I think, in project number 3 or 4. Import the tab delimited. So the information in that file is separated by tabs, and that's that resource file that we downloaded to cell A19 sheet 1. So first we will get to this point, to the word sheet 1. First of all, how do we import it? First of all, I select A19. So here I'm scrolling up, scrolling down until I find A19. Then to import data, I go to the data tab. Now, if this was a Mac, I would have to pull down this menu and find something like import text legacy. And it would bring up a dialog, and you have instructions for the Mac users how to go through that dialog in your instructions, which are actually kind of simpler than on Windows. On Windows, we have a special button called From Text CSV, which I will click. It pops up a dialog that asks me, okay, what file would you like to import? And I already see it, but even if I didn't, I would go to my downloads, and here it is. TXT, Blue Lake Project 2 TXT. By the way, if you don't see the extension .txt, it means your computer is hiding extensions, but you should still have all the name up to the TXT. When I import, it's going to show a dialog. Now, what's important is not to click just load, but to pull down this little menu and tell it where to load to. And that's where we're going to see what they're talking about. Where do they want us to download this? To the existing worksheet, cell A19 in absolute terms, and not to check add this data to the data model. In other words, I'm saying this is like a guest. Let it join the existing data model. Let's read the wording. Verified that the add this data to the data model box in the import data dialog box is not checked before you click OK. The data imports in an Excel table and repositions the existing data. What do they mean by that? They mean that if I click OK, it moves everything that used to be A, B, C to D, E, and F and inserts this here. In the instructions, they actually even give you a screenshot of what it looks like, and it looks just like mine. ABC with those, with this new table. Then the existing data was moved to DEF, and there's even like an overlap of one empty row here. Now we're going to move this. Select the cells A20, C33, copy them to the clipboard. Do not include the blank row. So the blank row is like 34, I think. So A20, C33. A20 all the way to C33. So don't include 34, even though it's colored. And under Home, I will copy. Just click Copy. Then, after copy always comes paste. So where do they want us to paste this? Select cell D19 and open the Paste Gallery. Choose Formulas to paste the data without formatting. There's actually more than one way of doing this. So first of all, D19 is where they want us to paste this. This would be like the top left corner of what they want us to paste. And when I go home, and this is the Paste Gallery, and there's all kinds of options. What they're talking about is that paste formulas. On the Mac, you can use paste and keep original formatting, and it'll work just fine. But here on Windows, they tell us to paste formulas, which basically means paste without, the colors and the fonts and all that. Click and see how it matches the format of everything else. We took only the data from here, brought it here. Save. Press Escape to canceling to cancel that moving border. So Escape, and now no borders are moving because it used to have like those crawling ants around it. Next, they want us to step 4, insert a blank row at row 4. So I'm going to row 4. Right-click, insert. Notice that it will insert it between them. So now there's a new blank row 4. What used to be 4 has been pushed to 5. So there's like a nice separator between them. Save. Then format the cells D5, F75 as an Excel table with blue table. So first of all, we'll format as the table, and then we'll make sure that the style is blue table style medium 2. So D5 F75. Let's start D5 F all the way down to 75, which is the last row. How do we do that? By going Insert, Table. Where's your data? D5 F75. My table has headers? Yes, it does. It so happens that the default style that it already got is this, which is the blue table style medium 2. So I didn't even have to choose it. If I did, it would be in Table Design, Table Styles. So now there should be 1, 2, 3 empty, and then the city, department, and transactions. Just to make sure, I'm going to go to my solutions and find it's not the first one. Here it is. You see how there's 1, 2, 3, empty row, and then the table. Save. But there's still this left over, so we're going to take care of it very, very soon. Here it is. Select and delete columns A through C, because that's where we borrowed the data from, but we don't need it anymore. So column A, I'm holding Shift on the keyboard, and B, and C. Now I can let go of Shift, right-click, and cut or delete. Cut is when I want to paste it. Delete is just go away. And now it really looks like what it needs to look like. Save. Next, select the cells. Now they want them to look nice and centered and everything. Select cells A1 through A3. Change the font to 14. So 1, 2, 3, A1 through 3. Change the font size to 14. Next, set the width of column A through C to 15. So it will take selecting column A, hold Shift, B, I'm still holding Shift, C, holding Shift, right click, and column width. Right click on them. Column width 15. Okay. Save. And then they want us to apply something called Apply Center Across Selection commands to these cells, and then Go Home. So Go Home is just to select cell A1. So that Control Home thing is just to select cell A1. But first we need to do Apply across selection. Where do we find that? While those three cells are selected, A, 1 through 3, I right-click. I find the word Format Cells. On the Mac, I think it's just called Format, doesn't matter, Format Cells. It brings up a dialog. In that dialog, there's a category. On the Mac, it's exactly the same, just the buttons look a little rounder, called Alignment, and it has horizontal and vertical. And under horizontal, instead of general, I'm going to choose Center Across Selection. What does that do? Even though these are only in column A, sorry, actually I didn't select the right thing. What I need to select is everything, A, B, and C. Then right-click and Format Cells, and then Alignment instead of General, Center Across Selection, click OK. And look at what happens. Even though the data is still A, 1, 2, 3, it centers across the selection of A, B, and C. Without, this is still an independent cell, but whatever it says in A just spans across it. Save. What they say now is to rename the worksheet transactions, which I can either type or right-click, copy, go here. Instead of the sheet called Sheet 1, I double-click and paste, Control V. On the Mac, it's Command V, or I could just type it, whatever seems less work to you. And I click outside to see that it took the name. We are up to requirement number 5, but I think we will do that on part 2 of this tutorial. See you in part 2. This is going to be part 2 of the series of tutorials for completing SimNet Word 365 Capstone project. In part 1, we got as far as completing steps 1, 2, and 3, and now we're up to step number 4. Select federal grants through scholarships on the first page in the types of financial aid. So it's federal grants through scholarships on the first page. Here it is, federal grants through scholarships. And what they want me to apply to it is to make it into a solid black bullet list for the selected text. So they also tell me that it's the Wingding font character code 110, but actually there's already a preset for that. So where do I do bulleted list? Right here. If I just click, it'll become a regular bullet. But if I pull down this menu, I can find the square one. Here it is. Save. Then they want to change the bulleted list. Select the bulleted list and change left indent to 0.5. So I'm going to select it. And how do we change left indent? I can either, actually the best way would be to launch the paragraph setting. We already went over the fact that on Mac, it's going to be up here under Format Paragraph. And right here, I can do an indentation left instead of 0.25, 0.5. OK, and it jumped to exactly ½ an inch. Save. Then use the Format Painter, because we made a few changes here, to copy the format of the bulleted list to body paragraphs 2 through 7 in the financial aid section, all paragraphs except the heading and the first paragraph in the section. So what are they talking about? They're saying they want to apply this to financial aid section, not the first paragraph, but everything past that. Now, if I'm not sure, I'm going to go to the solution, which is right here. And let's see the solution. Now it's going to be on the third page because it's going to insert like a... So from the word parents all the way to the sentence that starts with financial. So from parents to financial. here it is, but first I have to select the one that looks right, this one. I'm going to use the Format Painter now. Double-clicking on the Format Painter makes it stick. Makes it like, stay on. And now it copied the format of this, and I'm going to paint it over from the word parents all the way to the sentence that ends with financial, this one. And now it applied this as a bulleted list that starts with, parents and everything. Again, to compare, I'm going to go to here, and it's from parents all the way to financial. But the word information is still part of a paragraph that's regular. Let's make sure. Information, regular. Good. Save. Back to the requirements. Then they want me to use still the same Format Painter. Remember, we left it on to copy the bullet formatting to the two enrollment status criteria lists in the enrollment status on the last page. So they're even giving me a screenshot of what it should look like. There's two bullet lists, one, then a sentence, then another one. So it's two separate ones. And then I will do this. I'm making sure that, again, my Format Painter is on. I'm going to select this bulleted list, and my Format Painter is on. And I double-clicked, and I'm going to apply this bullet list to this list, the one that starts with full-time and ends with less than half-time, but not for students attending, because that's the sentence in between. Then this one, full-time, less than half-time. And when I look at the example they give me, first of all, I'm going to save. I can see that it looks right. It looks right. And there's a sentence in between. It still doesn't look exactly the same way they want, with all those tabs, but that's coming up. So I just did that. Select all 4 lines of the first bulleted list in the enrollment status section and set the left tab stop to 2.25. So it's not a tab, it's a left tab stop. So here's what we're going to do. Select all of those. And how do I insert a tab stop? In the paragraph, I launch the paragraph launcher. I click tabs, and they want 2.25, I believe. 2.25. I'm going to check. Yep, 2.25. Now on Mac, that same field is going to be up here on top, but it's the same thing, and I'm making sure that it's a left one, and I'm going to click to actually add that. I'm going to click OK. Tab stop position. Oh, sorry, 2.25 and set. And it actually, records it. And then I'm going to click OK. And I want you to see what happens. See how it actually made all of those jump to a nice tab at 2.25, just like the screenshot. It actually did it to this one as well. Use the Format Painter to apply this formatting to the second bulleted list. It already did, but I'm going to make sure. I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to my Format Painter and paint over this one. They seem to have already, everything that I need. And my next requirement is to select both bulleted list and the paragraph between them and change the after paragraph spacing to 4 points. See figure one, where see how the space above and below looks kind of even. So they want the after to be 4 points. So they want you to select this and the sentence between, all of this, and select the after to be, instead of 10 points, to be 4 pt, 4 points. Okay, and now you see how the spacing above and below the sentence is kind of equal. Save. Let's go for the next step. Convert text to a table. Turn on show hide if it's not already on. That is under the home tab, and here it is, and it shows all the formatting marks. Convert the selected text to a table with 3 columns auto fit to content. Now they don't tell me which text. Oh, select the tabbed line. Here we go. The tabbed line in the text column is expenses. The word expenses through that number 17,000 and convert it to a table with auto-fit contents. So let's find it. Here it is. This is called tabbed text because what's separating it right now is tabs. So all the way from the word expenses all the way to that 17,000, I clicked, held, and drag. And then under Insert Table, I'm pulling down this menu. And one of the options there is to convert text to a table. Then it's going to ask me how many columns? 3. Then auto fit to contents, that's what they want, and separate text at tabs. And it becomes a table. Now all those little weird icons is because I'm showing the formatting, which I would rather still show. Save. Next, I did convert it, and then they want me to customize it. Select the entire table if necessary and change the after paragraph spacing to 0. So the easiest way to select the whole table is to click on its little handle up here. And under Home Paragraph, it's like the millionth time we're opening this dialog. They want the after to be, I always forget, 0. After spacing 0. And okay, and see how it made it nice and tight. Insert a row above the first row in the table. Let's do that. So that is done in one of the tabs that opens when you have a table selected. Table design and table layout. It's in one of them. So in table design, you see all the different looks. We're going to visit that in a second. But under table layout, if I select the first row, sometimes it's enough just to select something in the first row. I just click, held and drag the first row. Here are the buttons to insert below and above. They want above. Save. Let me turn off the formatting because it, the show hide, because it's kind of annoying. And once I inserted a row, they want me to merge the cell in the row and type estimated annual college expenses. Now, I always like to highlight, right click, copy from the browser, go here. First of all, they want me to merge. So under table layout, there's the merge cells, and then I can paste. Now I'm not going to do a regular paste. I'm going to go to home, and I'm going to the paste menu and choose out of all the different pastes the one that is text only. Keep the one with the little A. Keep text only. And it pasted only my text without that weird font that I had in the browser. This one. Then they want me to apply the grid table 4 accent 4 table style to the table. We've used that style before. Grid 4 accent 4. So again, table selected. That's going to be under table design. I'm opening the table gallery. On Mac, it would be a button in the bottom center. Here on Windows, it's the bottom right. And I'm looking at all the grid tables, and I'm looking for the line that says grid table 4, 3, and this is 5, this is 4, accent 4. On the Mac, it's just like, all in rows here, that's like, side by side. Doesn't matter. I just need to roll over until I find grid accent 4, table 4, accent 4. Click, and it converted the whole thing. Save. Then there's going to be some things to change here. I did that. Apply the table style options to header row, total row, banded row, and deselect everything else. So header row, total row, and banded rows. So let's explain what each one of them is. Header row means that the header is going to look different than anyone else. Total row means that the bottom one is going to look different than anyone else. And banded rows means that all the others are going to be like odd, even, like light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. And they want me to deselect the others. They don't want the first column to look different. When I click elsewhere, you can see that the first one looks special, the bottom one looks special, and the ones in between are like light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. That's the banded rows. Save. Change the row height of the entire table to 0.2. So I'm going to select all the rows in the table. All of the rows. And where do I change row height? Under table layout, I believe. There's height for rows. So instead of 0.13, they want it to be 0.2. Enter. Now if I click any one of them, it is 0.2. Yep, good, save. Almost done here. Change the alignment of the first row to align top center, because it's right now like left. Select the first row, and alignments are up here, so this is top center up here. Save. What else do they want me to change? Top center. Change the alignment of the second and the third columns to align top right. So second and third columns. So I'll have to go to the second row. This, living with parents and living on your own. And they want to align that top right. So they align to the right. So I'm going to select these columns, all of them, and top right, which is right here, and also this one. Select the whole column, top right. Let me just make sure that I did exactly what they asked. Change the alignment of the second and the third columns, all of them, to align top right. Bold the text in the second row. Second row, which is like those sub things. Bolding them is, I could do that under home. Right here, bold. Select the entire table and change the horizontal alignment to center. Figure 2 shows the table in the center, because right now it's aligned left. So I'm selecting the whole table and changing the alignment to the center, right here. This is one way of doing it. I can also, let me undo, right-click and go to Table Properties, and in the Table Properties, choose Center. That's probably better. Same result. Save. And now we're almost up to the end of step number 6. Select the entire table. Okay, we just did that. Last thing, K, adjust column widths to keep text from wrapping if necessary. What do they mean? If there's text that's like spilling into the next line, then I can go to text wrapping, which is under home, and write here, there's a button for text wrapping. But I don't have to do it because it's not wrapping anyway. Wrapping would be if I typed something longer and it like spilled into the next line. So I'm going to undo. And I'm going to stop this part of the tutorial, which was part 2. Let me see you in part 3. This is going to be part 3 of the series of tutorials for completing the SimNet Word Capstone project. And in the previous part, we have reached the step where the end of step 6, where we adjust, that table and everything, and the columns and all that. Now, what I found out between recording those two parts is that I actually missed something on step number 4, so let's correct it now. Now, on step number 4, it says to apply a solid black square bullet, and we did, only it's the wrong one. It's slightly too small. I noticed that in their screenshots, there's a big one, and in my document, it's kind of small. So what I found is that we were using the wrong character code. So the correct character code to use is a font called Wingding, character code 110 to the selected text. So the way we would do it is this. I would select the first one, the first bulleted list, and I would go to Home. And under Bulleted List, I would go to Define New Bullet. And under Define New Bullet, I would click Symbol. And under Symbol, it will be the font Wingdings. If it's not, I'm going to, select it. And then there's a place to look for a character code. You see how the small one is 167. I'm going to change it to 110, which is a slightly bigger one. And then I'm going to click OK. And OK. And it changes it to a bigger one. Then I need to apply that to the rest of my bulleted lists, which is not going to be that hard because all I have to do is select them. Let's say this one, and under my bulleted list, it's going to be under the recently used ones. Here it is. And this one, there's a total of 4 of them. That's the third one. Recently used, the big one. And then this one, recently used, the big one. Good. Save. Let me look at the final result. And yeah, it looks exactly the way it needs to look. Let's also make sure that, yep, it looks just fine. Great. Now we can actually move on to the next step. The step we actually completed in the last part was number 6 with that table. And now we're up to step number 7, where we review comments and use something called Researcher. We're going to review the comment in Financial Aid Information section. Now, that means that somewhere on the right here, there's a comment. Now, if for some reason we don't see that comment, we would go to Review and ask to see all markup, because it might be on like no markup, and then we don't see it, but on all markup, we will see it. And the Researcher is, this person we're supposed to collaborate with, called Randy Nordell, is saying use researchers to find information about FAFSA, and he even highlighted this sentence. So how do we use the researcher? The researcher is going to be found under References, and here it is, Researcher. I click and it opens like a pane on the right, and I'm going to type the word FAFSA. And it researches and tells me some information about FAFSA and what it is and eligibility and so on. Now, this is not something we're changing in the document, so, they don't really have a way of knowing if you actually did it. So I did, I reviewed, I researched, okay. But as far as actual changes in the document, the only real change we need to do, we reviewed, we searched, close the researcher pane and delete the comment. That's the only actual measurable change. We close the researcher, and then under the 3 dots, delete thread. We deleted a comment. Save. Step number 8, insert a footnote. They want us to place our insertion point after fees $46 a unit in the first column of the table. And the footnote they wanted to insert is this text. So I'm going to copy it because I know that there's a good chance of me, including the period. Yep. There's a good chance of me misspelling it or something. And I'm going to right click and copy. Now, again, where does it need to be? Insertion point right after fees, that close parentheses, $46 a unit. And in the table, which is right here, fees $46 a unit, click. insert a footnote, which is under references. Here it is, insert footnote. It inserts footnote number 1, where I can go. Now, I want to paste only the text, so I'm going home, and I'm going to paste and finding the one with the A, which is for pasting text only. And here it is. Save. Next, they want me to change the footnote numbering format to ABC instead of 1, 2, 3. So that is done. In the review, in the references, and the way I would do that is by launching the footnote launcher. Now on Mac, I can do it. Let's see if I can do it here by right-clicking somewhere here, and on the Mac it's going to say footnote ... somewhere here. Now on Windows it doesn't do that, but that's the way I would do it on Mac. On Windows, I'm going to the group in references called footnotes and launching the footnote dialog. That's where it's asking me, oh, what number format do you want? I don't want 1, 2, 3. I want lowercase ABC. Let's see if that's really the one they want. Yep. They do. Apply. And now it's footnote A instead of 1. They also say, if for some reason it doesn't fit, use auto contents, but everything still fits, so I don't have to touch anything. Next, step number 9. Add placeholder and citations to the document to edit the citation. First of all, citations are like references that prove that everything that we say that is factual is supported by something like research. It's like, it's basically the answer to the question, says who? So first of all, there's 2 main styles, APA and MLA. They want us to select the style called APA from bibliography style. And that is done under references, style. If it's already APA, nothing to change, but if you needed to change it, it's right here. And save. And then place your insertion point at the end of the body paragraph, but before the period, in the financial resources section on the first page. So I need to find that paragraph on financial resources and place my insertion point, financial resources, at the end right here. Let's see if that's, again, let's read it carefully. At the end of the first of the body paragraph, but before the period, in financial resources section in the first page. Now I'm going to look at the final and see if that's where they actually inserted it, which is, yep, right here. Right after the word goal, there's a citation. So my mouse is right here, right after the L, but before the period. And I'm going to insert a citation. Now, on Mac, this is only a button, not a pull-down menu. And on Mac, I will just insert citation and add a new source and give it like the name, whatever name they wanted me to give it. But on Windows, I can do it like this. Insert citation, add a new placeholder. And all they want is the name of the placeholder. So it's 2 ways to do the same thing. Now, what name did they want to have for this placeholder? SPCCD. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that. What does it mean that it's placeholder? It's a citation, but I haven't given it the details yet. But it's just, it holds its place there. So right now it's going to insert the citation. It just looks like CCPPD. And then they want to do the same thing. Place the insertion point at the end of the third bulleted item, but before the period, in financial aid information section. So there's a financial aid information section. Here it is. Third bullet. Here. Let's see if that's the right one. End of the body paragraph, but before the period in financial resources. Again, I'm going to refer to the solution and see financial, and it's the third one. Yep, right after here, right after that 008, blah, 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 this is the citation right here. So right after the 2. So right after the number 2, but before the period, again, same thing. I can insert citation and simply change the name of the placeholder to FAFSA. And it inserts a placeholder for FAFSA. Or on Windows, there's actually a place where I can just insert a new placeholder. It's exactly the same. One or the other. You don't have to do both. The next step is to use the Source Manager dialog box, reference tab, citations, and bibliography group, and edit the first one, placeholder, to add the following information. Check the box show all bibliography fields if necessary. Now, first of all, how do I get to this Source Manager? Now, on Windows, there's a button called Manage Sources. Very easy, but for some reason on Mac, it does not. It's not there. So what I can do is on Mac is I can find the citation. Let's say the first one, this one, and click on it, and there's a tiny little drop menu where I can go edit citation right here. Not edit citation, edit source, sorry. Edit source. And it brings up a dialog with everything where I can show all the bibliography, styles, and everything. Now, on Windows, I can choose what they are suggesting, which is to click Manage Sources. It brings up a dialog with all the ones that I have, the current list, and here it is, this one, and I'll click Edit, and it opens up the same dialog, edit source. Now, let's make sure that we're editing exactly what they want us to edit, because it's got a lot of, if I show all the bibliography ones, it's got a lot of different fields. And let's make sure we're entering the right info into the right info. So first of all, the one that's SPCCD. And make sure you show all bibliography fields. Type of source, website. Type of source, not book, but website. And it changes all the different fields accordingly. Then they want the name of the author to be a corporate author with this name. I'm going to copy it. Now, how do we do a corporate author? By checking this box, which blocks out a regular human author, and instead of it's a corporate author. I'm right-clicking and pasting. In this case, no need to worry about formatting because it takes only simple text. They want the name of the page to be financial aid. Name of the page, not name of the site, but name of the page, financial aid. The year is 2021. Again, I'm right-clicking and copying. Year 2021. Year accessed is 2023. So now where's the year accessed? Right here. So this is the year it came out, but this is the year that it was accessed or found. Whoever wrote this paper. The month accessed is January, and the day accessed is 12. So the month accessed, January, day accessed, 1, 2, 12. And last but not least, they want the URL to be this thing, because it's a web page. Copy. And where I put the URL is at the very top. There's a field for URL. web page name, editor, year, month, URL. Here it is. On the Mac, it's a little higher, but it's still the same name. So I just make sure that I copy its entire, everything from the W all the way to the HTML to the L, and then they want me to edit the FAFSA placeholder and put a bunch of information there too. So I can click OK. And I can edit the FAFSA. Again, I'll show you the alternative way. You see how now instead of a placeholder, like a question mark, it has like a real, check. I can close it, and I can go see how it inserts Sierra Community College District in 2021. If I look at the final result, I will see that it looks exactly the same. Sierra Community College District 2021. So I know that, I'm on the right road. Then they want me to edit the FAFSA one. So again, personally, my favorite way is to find it. And it was right here. One click, pull down menu. Not that. Undo. Pull down menu. I converted it to a regular text by mistake. Edit source, and the same dialog opens, only nicer, cleaner. Show all bibliography, and now it's just a matter of meticulously entering or copying, whatever's easier for you. Again, this is a website, and the author, the corporate author, is U.S. Department of Education. Corporate author. First of all, it's a website. Corporate author, U.S. Department of Education. Federal Student Aid is the name of the web page. Again, very confusing. Make sure it's not website, but web page. Then the year is 2022, and the year accessed is 2022. That's easy enough to type. Year 2022, and the year accessed is 2022. And it's December 8th, the time it was accessed. I will see all those fields only if I check show all bibliography fields. Month accessed, December with a capital D, and the day 8. And last but not least, they want the URL to be this thing. In other words, if someone wants to check the actual facts in this document, they have some kind of reference. That's what citations are for. I'll say it again. Citations are a basic long answer to a very short question. And the question is, says who? It's going to ask me, I've seen this on Mac, this source exists in your master list and current document. Do you want to update? Yes, I do. Save. At this point, let's see if we're done with the Source Manager dialog box, which I closed even before. And then they want me to insert that same citation once again. Place your insertion point at the end of the first body paragraph, but before the colon on the second page in the enrollment status section. So first body paragraph, right before the colon. Let's see if we can find it. In the, again, what is it? First body paragraph in the second page. That's the first page. That's the second page. Where is that colon? Let's see again. at the end of the first body paragraph, but before the colon. I don't see a colon here. Let's look at the solution. Let's look at the solution. This is going to be part 4 of the series of tutorials for helping you complete SimNet, Excel, 365 Capstone project, also known as Application Capstone Project 2, and I'm doing this on Windows. By the end of the last part, which was part 3, we got as far as completing step number 9, all the way up to H, and now we're up to step number 10. Step number 10, select the Lookup Data tab name. So here is the Lookup Data tab name. It has very little in it. I can actually zoom in to see it. Then what they're asking us to do is to select the range A2 through A6 and give it a name. Call it cities with a capital C. How do we name a range? C2 through C6. Now, what I'm used to from Mac is the fact that I can right-click, and there is actually a rename command here. But on Windows, we don't have that. But something we have on both Mac and Windows is under Formulas, there's a button called Define Name, and I click on it, a dialog shows up. This is where the name is not just Atlanta, but cities. The scope is workbook, within the whole workbook. They're not asking us to do any commands, and it refers to the sheet called Lookup Data A2 through A6. Okay, from now on, this range has a name. So if I click outside and I click here, it'll say that it's B4. But if I click here, it's A2. But if I select all of them, it'll know it's cities. So the whole range has a name. Next, they want us to do the same thing for B2 through B6 and call it tax rates with capital T and capital R. I'm copying this name and I'm doing the same thing. These are the tax rates. So again, under formulas, define names. The name is not going to be tax underscore rate, but tax rate, one word. They call it camel case, capital T, capital R. I'm making sure that it's lookup data B2 through B6. Okay, now this range, if I go to here, tax rates, it has a name. Each cell still has an address B6 or whatever, but if I select the whole range, it shows me the name of the range. Why do we need that? So we can use it in the next formula. The next formula they want us to do is they actually want to make room for it. So select the transaction data sheet and insert a column at column C. Transaction data and column C. I'm actually clicking on the C, right-clicking, and insert. Notice how it moves C to D and inserts a blank one where C used to be. They obviously are going to make us give it a name, and then we're going to do things with it. So insert a new column C, select C5 and type tax rate, capital T, capital R. I find it easier to just paste. Tax rate. Location, sales ticket, tax rate. Save. Next, Now we're actually ready to build the formula. And the formula is called Xlookup. Now, in previous projects, we have done Vlookup. What is Xlookup? It's actually very, very similar, only it's simpler. It has fewer parameters. It basically goes like, look here and here and here and build a formula out of it. So build a Xlookup formula to look up the value in cell A6 in cities and display the tax rate. So how do we do that? What we need is in C6, we're going to insert a formula. It's going to be under math and trig, and it's going to be called Xlookup. Not under math and trig. Lookup, sorry, not math and trig, the lookup. Xlookup. And it comes up with a bunch of parameters. Now on the Mac, it's going to appear here on the left as a pane, but it's still going to have the same fields. Let's see what we're filling them up with. C5, okay, select C6, we did. We're building a lookup formula in C6. The lookup value will be A6 in the cities range and display the tax rates. So A6, cities, tax rates. This is going to be A6. Look at A6. What are you really looking for? You're looking for the tax rate. Now, where do we find that tax rate? That tax rate will be found in the lookup data, in the range. I'm going to highlight the whole range, called cities. See how I just highlighted everything and it said cities. Then I'm going to go to return array and it's going to return me to the sheet where the formula is. And where do they want the, what do they want that to be? They want that to be return array to be tax rates. And display that tax rate. So this is going to be in data lookup, the range that we called tax rate. So A6, city, tax rate. Let's compare that to what they have here. A6, cities, tax rate. So let's explain not just how we do it, but what are we doing here. This really builds a formula. If I click somewhere else, it'll return me here. It goes, okay, in Atlanta, what is the tax rate? Like, every city has like, a city tax or a state tax. And if they buy this in Atlanta, what would be the tax rate in Atlanta? And it's going to look it up by city. So now I believe we can click OK. Yep. And let's see. It should say 0.09. Now, it's really going to become like 9% once we format it, but we can already look at the solution. And see that this is going to become, this is going to be 8 point, it's basically 9%. It's going to be rounded to that. So we're in the right direction. It's rounding into 9 because we don't have enough digits here. The next thing they want us to do is to copy that formula. A6 city display. Copy the Xlookup formula in column C and format the results as percentage with 2 decimals. Now we're going to see the real results. So how do we copy this formula? We simply grab the bottom right corner and drag it all the way down. And it calculates, everything in Atlanta is 9 and everything is Boston is 6. Now it's not 6 cents, it's percentage. So I'm going to select this whole range, go to home, go to where we do the format and say, no, you're not currency, you are percentage. Tax is in percentage. But then I'm going to make sure that it has 2 decimals just like percent style with 2 decimals. Just like the example. 8.90%. 8.90% because I made it percentage. Now the default is 2 decimals. If I needed more or less, I would use these buttons to add more or less. Save. The next thing they want us to do is to use order of precedence in a formula. What's order of precedence? It's a formula where we tell it what to calculate first. Select the cell D6. Let's explain what this is all about. Listen, if you're in Atlanta and you bought something for $195 and the tax rate is $890, what would you pay overall? You would pay $195 plus 8% 0.9 of this. So it's going to go like $195 plus about like, what is it, like $10, something like that. How do we calculate it? We go equals, and let's follow the directions. Equals B6 equals, then I click the cell B6, which is how much I would pay. Then times, open parentheses, 1 plus C6. Type 1, type plus C6. Why 1 plus? Because you're still paying the $195 plus the tax, right? And what they're saying here is they're deliberately saying press enter. And the missing parentheses is noted. They want us to encounter like, an error message because we should close the parentheses. But what happens if we press enter without it? We get a message. Oh, sorry. You know what I forgot? The times. Let's do it again. Didn't close the parentheses. B6 times 1 plus C6. Enter. We find a typo. Do you want to accept the correction? Yes, I do. And then it'll calculate the right amount. Let's look at the solution and see if I got the right amount. Yep, 212.70. 212.70. It took this, added itself to 8.9%. Like, how much would it be if you added tax of 8.9%? The next thing to do will be, of course, to copy that formula to the rest. Yes, to accept the correction. Copy the formula to complete the data. So I'm going to grab the bottom right corner and go all the way down. And just to check myself, the last number should be 103.38. Let's look at the solution. Yep, 103.38. Save. Again, let's look at the formula for the first one. Equals B6 times parentheses. That's like the order of precedence. The precedence means that it'll do the adding before it does the multiplying. Because if we didn't have the parentheses, it'll do the multiplying before the adding because that's the regular order of precedence. Then by copying it, because neither one of those cells was absolute, there's no dollar signs here, when we copied it to row 7, it simply updated B7, C7. And then it updated to B8, C8, and that's very convenient. Here it's 30, 30. B30, 1 times C30. Save. Preview the data in complete borders. Preview the worksheet for printing. Now, to preview the worksheet for printing, on Mac, I would go File, Print. On PC, I would go File, Print, and it would give me a preview. Now I can go back. I'm not doing anything with it, but you notice how there's like borders missing here and here, so I believe that would be one of the next steps. Select A4 and apply a left border. Select D4 and a right border. So A4 here, left border to kind of close it here, and D4 right border. Save. And now when I file and preview for printing, see how it closed it here. It looks like, like a complete table. It doesn't have like holes in it. Back. Save. We did this, we did this. Whenever they tell you to suppress Control Home or Function Control Left, it's just it's the same thing as click cell A1. Just to see, like, to kind of get out of it, to look at everything. Save. Then they want us to use a function called SumProduct. We are getting very close to the end because this is step 14. I believe 15 is the last step. No, actually 16. So we got 14, 15, 16, because 17 is to save and close. Let's finish this. Step 14, SumProduct to calculate fees by location. Select the card fees tab and name and format the values in column C as percentage style with 4 decimal places. So, card fees, column C. Card fees, where are you? Card fees. Column C. And here are the numbers, and we're going to select them, and we're going to format them as percentage. But right now they have 2 decimals, and I can increase the number of decimals. I know it's confusing. The arrow is pointing to the left, but this is increase. 1 click will give it 3, another click will give it 4. If I click too many times, I click to decrease it. 4 zeros, or 4 decimal points. Then there's some corrections, because the numbers are not right. What they're saying is that in cell C9, we should type 0.0095. It's not 9%, it's 0.9%. 0.0095. Enter. And you see how it becomes not 9%, but 0.9%. Same thing here, I believe it's the next step, is to fix that 7.5 to 0.75 by typing 0.0075, which formats it as percentage. So 0.0075, enter, and now I got the right number, 0.75, not 7.5. Save. Select the cell C15 and use the Math and Trig button to create a formula called SumProduct. So C15, right here under Atlanta, and then under Formulas, Math and Trig, very scary, SumProduct. Here it is. And of course it opens that dialog. On Mac it's going to open a pane on the left, but it's going to have exactly the same fields in it. And then we're going to have to populate at least 1 or 2 of those arrays, because this is to calculate like the sum of white cards, of blue card, of platinum card, of gold cards in those cities, and so on. So what do they want us to calculate? The formula multiplies the fee rate times the number of times of transactions of each card. Select the cell C7, C10 for array 1. Now, when they tell you to press F4, which is, if you have a laptop, it's function F4, because usually the function keys on laptops are being used for like your volume and stuff like that. What it really means is that they want it to be absolute, like $C, $7, $C, $10. Whichever way accomplishes that is good. So I'm going to go to the first array and select C7 through C10. Then I can manually, if I want to, I can, go function F4. Actually didn't work. I can just manually go before the C and insert a $sign before the $7, before the C, $sign before the $10, $. Absolute. It'll always take its the fee per transaction, always from this column. Remember, the dollar can be translated in your mind to the word always. Array 2 is not going to be absolute. It's going to be relative. Array 2 is going to be D7, D10. D7, D10. Why do we need this one not to be absolute? Because then it's going to update it to Boston, Chicago, and we want that one to go up from D to E to F to G when we copy the formula. Then anything else that we need to do? Click Done. Done. On Mac it's called Done. Here it's called OK. In Atlanta, it calculated 411.25, and I want to make sure that that is correct. So I'm going to go to the solution, find that 411. Why is it not point something? Because they're going to make us round it up. But now I can grab the bottom right corner and copy that formula all the way to St. Louis. Save. Then we're going to format with that format called accounting, number format with 0 decimals, which means it'll round it up to whole dollars. Select this whole range, go home instead of general, accounting, and I'm going to decrease decimal once, twice. It rounds it to 411, 372. Let's see if that's what it should be. Yep. 411, 372, and so on. Save. Step number 15. Use order of precedence and relative references in the formula. Select cell E22. E22 is where we're going to do a formula. Fees by card. Math and trig, sum. Formulas. Math and trig. Scroll down. Sum. And it already thinks, it knows what sum to do, but it's not the one that we want. They want the cells D7, H7 for the number 1 argument, and click OK. So again, I forget, it's D7, H7. D7 all the way to H7. That's the range. Number 1, D7, H7. It'll sum up all the fees for all the cities in the white card. Okay. And it shows 40,000. Let's see if this is what we got. No, it doesn't. Let's see why. I'm going to undo. Do it again. Let's read the instructions. Sum D7. Select E22. Oh, then it was right, because we're going to do some things to it. So I was on the right track. I'll do it again. Math and trig, sum. Range D7 all the way to H7. D7, H7. I could have typed it in here if I wanted to, as long as it ends up as D7, H7. Then I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to edit the formula. Now on Mac, if you still have that pane with formula builder, close it, because otherwise it will not let you type manually. What do they want us to edit here? Edit the formula to multiply the results by C7 for the white card fee. See figure 8. Where is figure 8? This is figure 9. Here's figure 8. See how it's sum of D7. It's really small, but, believe me. Let's see if we can, make it bigger. A little. Yep. It's supposed to be what we got now, which is equals sum D7, H7, but we're going to make it multiply by C7. Why multiply by C7? Multiply by, and I'm going to click C7 because that's the rate. It's going to add all of these up, multiply by 2%. Sum D7, H7, multiply by C7. I could have written it manually, but as long as it ends up the right thing. Enter. Then it should show 800, which is really what it shows up here. 800. We're going to give it a little format and everything, but it's already on its, on the right track. We just did D. Copy the formula to E23, E25. E23, E25, which means basically drag it down all the way to gold card. And it calculates, basically it sums up, okay, gold card in Atlanta and Boston and Chicago and San Diego, add all of these numbers up, multiply them by the percentage. This is how much fees the company is going to have to pay. Because a sporting goods company has to pay, platinum cards like, Visa, they have to pay them fees. This is one of the reasons some stores don't like to take credit cards, because they have to pay the credit card companies a fee. But that's beside the point. We are getting really close to the end. They want us to format those cells as accounting number format with 0 decimal places. So select them, home. Instead of custom, we're going to go to accounting, but they want 0 places. So I'm going to click here on decrease once, decrease twice, and we got our 800 and 698 and so on. Let's compare 800, 698, and so on. Beautiful. Click outside. Save. Last step. Control home just means, get out of whatever you're clicking and go to A1. Here's A1. They're getting ready to print it. Finalize the workbook by setting page options in the document properties. Open the properties dialog box. It's in the file menu. Now, am I on Mac or on Windows? It sounds like I'm on Mac. No, I'm actually on Windows. So, back to step 16. Properties dialog box, file menu. Actually, on Mac, it's exactly the same place. File, menu, and options, and it should be under File tab. Is it info? It sounds like the language is Mac language. Properties dialog box, summary tab. That sounds very Mac. Let me switch from Mac to Windows, because it sounds like it's stuck on Mac. That's not Windows language. See, it's like stuck. Okay, Mac, back to Windows. Let me refresh. Let's see. On Windows, I know it's in a different place because there's no file menu. There's something else. Actually, it's the same. Open the Properties dialog box, File menu. File, and I don't see Properties, I see Options. Oh, Info. Instead of Properties, they call it Info. Here it is. And this is where I can give the document its properties, which is right here. Advanced Properties. Then, all of this actually is their mistake, because it sounds like this is the way you would do it on Mac. From this point on, it's exactly the same. Transactions data is the title. I'm going to copy this, go here, and title is, are you going to let me paste or not? Copy. Okay, no big deal. I can actually show all properties and go to title, and I think here it will let me paste. Same thing. What else do they want us to change? The comments box, and they want us to enter first week of September. Where is the comments box? Right here, add comments. First week of September. So we did this, we did this, we did this. We did the comments. Select the pivot table sheet tab and change the page orientation to landscape and scale it to fit one page. So it's actually two things. So we go to the pivot table. Let me go back. We go to the one called pivot table. This one, I might have to click a little to the left. And under page layout, first of all, I change the orientation to landscape, but also I can make it fit. Instead of automatic, I can make it fit into one page width and one page height. Then they want us to do, let's save. Then they want us to do the same thing to another sheet. The transaction sheet, they don't want us to change orientation, but just to make it fit into one page. So it's the sheet called transactions. Not transactions data, but transactions. Same thing, page layout, width, one page, height, one page. Save, and I believe we're done. Save, close, upload, submit for grading. I hope you followed all those steps. I know that I rehearsed all those steps in advance and submitted as, to rehearse and got 100. So there's no reason that if you follow these steps, you shouldn't get 100. I'll say again that Mac users should follow the Mac instructions, except in one place that I pointed out, where the Windows instructions serve both Mac and Windows users better. I will stop this tutorial until I find the exact spot, and I will see you in the next part. 3, which will take us to step number 7.